In this inspirational people interview on the Share Life podcast, I'm speaking with Jaime Ellithorpe, founder of 540 Strategies, which focuses on leveraging LinkedIn, among other mediums, to effectively generate leads for heart-centered businesses. I was so impressed with the relationship building approach, I had to meet her. And today you get to as well. Jaime from Texas, say hello.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm
Yeah,
excited
yeah.
to be here.
Yeah, thank you for joining and sharing your life with
Absolutely.
us today. Would you go ahead and introduce us? Tell us who you are, where you came from, and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Jaime Ellithorpe. My company is 540 Strategies. I currently live in Dallas, Texas, but I was born and raised in the Omaha, Nebraska area, but glad to be in a little bit of warmer weather. I'm a marketing consultant and strategist. So over the years, I've coached a lot of small businesses, helping them with strategies on how to grow their business, how to get more clients, and how to get their message out into the world in a bigger way. And most recently, we're really excited. We launched a lead generation agency using the power of LinkedIn, where we are helping our clients grow a bigger brand presence on the platform and helping them get their content out to the masses, and then helping them create more booking leads of prospects and referral partners into their calendars.
Cool. So
Yeah.
tell us a little about your jump from to into entrepreneurship. Was that a smooth one or a choppy ride?
I guess the question is it ever a smooth ride? I think this is probably one thing in life where if we don't know what we don't know, it's a good thing. Actually, I started 540 Strategies alongside a corporate job. I started really the backstory behind it is I came to Dallas, Texas from the Midwest with big dreams in my eyes and in my heart. And I accomplished a lot of those, got a big corporate job, and realized that it felt very empty. And I thought, wow, is this it? And fell into personal development and specifically learning about the law of attraction. And I was just so empowered with that information and how to put that into my own personal life. It led to me becoming a certified law of attraction coach so that I could help other people with all of this wonderful information that I had learned. And so I took what I knew there and I put that into my business coaching practice. And I helped entrepreneurs learn how to manifest their dreams quicker and easier as we were building the real world strategies. So that's kind of what launched 540 Strategies. And then as I grew that, I essentially got out of corporate America and started focusing more and more on my business. And then as I was working with business owners with strategy, as much as they loved it and as much as they had really great intentions, there were so many of them that were so busy that they really just didn't have the time and energy to implement those things on their own. And so that's how our lead generation agency was born, just out of a true need to help people fill their booking calendars and allow them just to get to doing what they do best, whatever that expertise is, and not focus so much on how to get more clients.
Mm, yeah, that indirect approach is critical. One of the things when I shut down my company and started freelancing, that I wanted to that I one of the three things that I focused on was in terms of growing the business was I wanted to focus on just doing really quality work for the clients that I had in front of me and not get ahead of myself and looking for the next one. And I believed if I did that well, the next one would take care of itself in that sense. So that's similar, I think, to what you're saying.
Absolutely. Yep. It's all about the power of intention and focusing on how you want things to be and setting those goals and to just keep moving forward. So, yes, you did that, whether that was automatically just set within you or strategically, you were definitely on point with that.
Yeah. And so tell us, one of the things that I like to explore on this podcast is what it means to live better, what it means to work smarter. But let's start with the living part. What does that mean for you to live better? And you mentioned being in a corporate job and just sort of feeling empty in that sense. Uh, Tell us what you think about that idea and
Yeah.
how that plays out today in your life
Yeah,
and on your work.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So 540 Strategies, ironically enough, that's what we are all about. When I decided to start this company, like I said, I was burnt out and very unfulfilled. in corporate America, I decided that I wanted to do things that I loved and that made a difference in the world. And essentially that's how the company was named. Is just kind of a little backstory. The number 540 is actually the energetic equivalent to the word joy. And so that was the paramount of what I felt like when I decided to start this company, is I was very passionate about doing the things that I loved, but also helping my clients do the things that they love, because most heart-centered entrepreneurs start a business based on their passion and wanting to share that with others. It's just unfortunate that if they don't have the business growth strategies under their belt, or maybe their mindset's not in the right place, they're just not able to get out to the masses and help lots of people.
Mm,
So that was really the backbone of the mission of 540 Strategies, was pairing people with the work they love to do, being in a heart-centered space and truly caring about the world and helping lots of people and helping them get the tools and resources that they needed to make that a reality.
yeah. So you mentioned heart-centered business. What in the world is that?
Yeah. So to me, and I think to my clients that resonate with those words, is we want to make a big difference in the world. We want to do well financially, but it's not always about the money. That business decisions aren't made based on, can I make another dollar, or how can I leverage more money? It's more about, what services can I provide to make a real difference for my clients and the world at hand, while being able to be financially abundant.
Yeah. And so what does it mean? Like, what would be examples of making a difference?
Yeah. So for me, I feel like the most powerful work that I can do on this planet is equipping other business owners to do well in their business, because I think it's truly that forward, paying it forward effect, that if I can help business owners, they can go out and help hundreds and thousands of other people that I personally can't help. And so the more exponential that I can be in my business, helping and serving more business owners doing what they love to do and what they're created to do here, the more that I can help serve humanity as a whole. So that's the way that I look at it, is it's just a total pay it forward experience.
Yeah, and I think what you're also encouraging is that we shouldn't pursue things that are detrimental to others, but that whatever we do should contribute towards their flourishing as well. Correct?
I'm a big believer in the win-win strategy. I
Yeah.
feel like there's so much abundance here that we don't need to compete. We don't need to cut other people down to get what we want. That if we actually work together, even in a collaborative way with our competitors, oftentimes we can produce fantastic projects and opportunities that we would have never been able to do by ourselves. So that's kind of another one of my philosophies, is I actually encourage business owners to partner with their
Yeah.
competitors, because I meet with a lot of marketers a lot of the time, and I will tell you, we can start conversations where we think we're doing the same exact things for clients, and there's always that one thing. There's that one piece where we're different, and utilizing that one piece can make difference.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I can relate to that as well, because I'm very much a bridge builder in that sense. I knew when I had my marketing company, we were part of the Chamber of Commerce, and there were other marketing companies, and I loved making friendships with them and collaborating with them, um and it never was an issue for me. I know for some people it is, but for me it was part of the process, right? And having different focus, and different strengths, different weaknesses, different systems that people use. So I think I agree with you, just from my own personal experiences, that those collaborations, in fact, some of them are even more fruitful than collaborations with people that are not even in your space, because they understand you understand them, and then those compliments are easily translatable. So it's pretty cool. So
Absolutely.
let's talk about working. What does it mean to work smarter?
Yeah. So one of the big things that I talk about strategically with clients is how to create systems and automation to get so many of the things that really shouldn't be their focus and really aren't their passion, get those off their plate so that they can focus on what they really want to do and the things that they are exceptionally gifted at. So to me, I guess that's a big part of how to produce more and live more abundantly and really love the work that you do, is to figure out, what are the top 2 or 3 things that maybe only you can do? What is
Mm,
your unique skill set and what is your gift to the world? And live in that space as much as possible and be able to systemize or take those other things off your plate.
yeah. And so where did you learn that from? Where did that come from?
So kind of another backstory when I was building this business while being in corporate. So I had this whole personal development route that I was going down, learning about the law of attraction. I also got onto this route about the online business world, and that led me down a lot of rabbit holes, learning how to build systems and sales funnels and online pages, SEO, all kinds of stuff in the strategic world. And one of my mentors was actually a marketer who was super big on automation. So I learned a lot from her on ways to put systems in place, have reminders, put set in my business for projects or following up with prospects and clients, all of those things. And so I have to tell you that I think that's made my business so much easier to run and so much more enjoyable.
Interesting. So, um, you kind of you say make it more enjoyable. Like, are you finding in the work that you do and the people you know or come across that they don't enjoy their work or that they hate it in the entrepreneurial space, or is that more of a corporate America
Yeah.
sentiment?
Um, I think a lot of it is more corporate America, but what I will say is I find a lot of business owners, especially some that come to me, in the beginning stages of us working together, is they're being bogged down by working in
Mm,
their business and not working on their business. So they're kind of down in the weeds. They're trying to play the secretary.
mm,
They're trying to do all things for all people, and they're just burnt out. So I
mm,
think that's probably the difference, is it's not a passion problem, is a burnout problem. And so what I try to do is get them back into the good headspace of, this is where you need to be in your business, this is what you love to do, this is your area of expertise, you need to be working in that space and take those other things off your plate. So I think that's the biggest kind of initial transition that I see with business owners is, what do you need to be doing and what do you not need to be doing? And let's figure out some ways to either automate that. In the online world, we've got so many tools and apps now that we can automate it. Or do we need to bring in some other specialists who that's what they do every day and just take that piece off your plate? So, however, we can strategize that to get them back into that expertise space is the best thing that they can do. And that just automatically increases their happiness.
mm. So burnout is part of that. What what facet or what level of contribution is pacing, like running faster, like trying to run a marathon versus pacing yourself appropriately? Is that part of the burnout source?
Partly, I what I find with people, and this goes back to the mindset piece, is you first got to ask yourself, are you running in the right direction, or are you
Yeah,
running in the right race? And I've been just as guilty of that too. Is if we're running in the wrong race and we're not even going in the right direction, then that's going to automatically lead to burnout. So I think sometimes stepping back and trying to take that 30,000 look perspective from a different vantage point is really one of the first steps to being more successful and loving more about what you do and just overall having more time to
yeah,
spend in that space. So I just think there again, business owners, they get so busy just trying to like survive till
yeah,
5 every day that they're not even thinking about, well, should I be doing that or should I not be doing that?
yeah, yeah. No, that's
They're
good.
just kind of like they're kind of just like in automatic mode where they're just reacting. They're in this
Hmm.
reaction mode of like, oh, an email came in. Oh, answer the phone. And it's like they're not really thinking about like, well, do those things lead to the big
Yeah,
picture? Is that improving your results, or are you just kind of here treading water?
yeah, yeah. That's good. So speaking of that, in terms of like being insufficient in oneself and having to learn something that one does not possess themselves, What do you think about mentoring? How's it played a role in your life? How do you look at it? I mean, in many ways, you're a paid mentor as a coach, right? So
Yeah.
tell us about that.
So I will start by saying my life would not be what it is today without the many, many mentors that I've had in my life, both in the personal development space as well as the marketing strategic space. I would not be where I'm at today. So I'm 100% passionate and obviously a little biased that I got my certification in coaching, right? So I don't know if you're asking the right person, a straightforward answer, but I'm a big believer in it just because there's the knowledge piece that a mentor can teach you a skill set that you don't normally have or something you want to acquire, but they can also see some of your blind spots. I think that's probably one of the best benefits of having a mentor is that they are looking at you from a different vantage point than what you're looking at internally, and they can point out some of those blocks. Because I think that's another thing is, again, an entrepreneur gets up in the morning, goes to work, they're in reactionary mode, and they're not really stepping back to be able to see where they can
Yeah.
improve or how they need to change direction. And a mentor can step in that doesn't have any emotional attachment to anything. They're just looking at it objectively and they're saying, wait a minute, what are you doing here? Or why are you doing this? Or is this even lining up to your goal? And so you can start to get back into alignment with what you really want and start heading in the right direction when
Mm.
you have a mentor.
So in regards to the blind spots, what is it about people that we tend to resist being having our blind spots illuminated and revealed to us? We'd rather just be blind to our blind spots. What's going on there?
So I think a lot of it is just human nature. As sad as I hate to admit this, it really is true just based on what I've seen. Most people really don't want to change. And that can be a personal change from wanting to lose weight to wanting to grow their business. And I think everyone has to hit their own rock bottom sometimes, whatever that means for that person, because it all looks different. But they've really got to hit a place to where the pain is so bad that they really can't take that anymore and they're willing to be uncomfortable in the unknown in order to change the pain. That's
Mm.
that's at least what I have experienced doing a lot of discovery sessions with a lot of business owners as they come to me saying that they want to change, they want to make a difference. But then when it really comes down to making that commitment, whether it's financial or time or otherwise, their mindset just won't allow them to do it because the fear of the unknown is scarier than the pain of the known.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting.
It's almost kind of insane
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you look at it, but
Logically.
we're all guilty of it of some area in our lives, whether it's business or personal, is we're just conditioned to stay with the comfortable pain.
Yeah, although for some, the anxiety that comes with the unknown may be so intolerable that it's that the pain is, well, I'd rather feel the pain than the
Exactly.
anxiety, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the good news is if you do want help with that, there are tools and strategies that can essentially eliminate those feelings. That's another realm I kind of went down along with coaching, was learning how to clear those blocks for clients, because you're right, some of them are so crippling that they literally can't let go of the anxiety or the fear long enough to be able to logically do what
Mhm.
they want to do. That's kind of another block, is our ego will throw out anxiety, fear, pain, basically anything that feels bad in order to stop us from moving forward, even though we logically want it. It's called a counter intention. But if you logically want something, but you're subconsciously stopping yourself from it,
Mhm.
that's usually the point to where people can't make the
Yeah.
change. And so that has to, the brakes on that have to be lifted in order for that person to physically move forward.
Yeah, and what I'd add to that is that those breaks probably played an important role at some point in someone's life. And but now it's actually hindering them. And so sometimes we have to change because the context of which we live our life or work changes. And if we don't,
Absolutely.
we're operating with the wrong tools for the wrong context, which doesn't allow us to move forward.
Yep. Not that I want to go too deep down the rabbit hole because we could be here for hours, but I will just say psychologically, by the time we're about 5 or 6 years old, most of our filters are built. So whether that's a fear of something or a doubt about something, and we're literally operating on that same system that we built subconsciously by the time we were in kindergarten and into our 20s, 30s, and 40s. When you think about that the 5-year-old me is hindering the now me.
Yeah.
It's very crippling, and to be able to eliminate all of that and really reprogram your thought patterns is so empowering.
Yeah. To kind of, we have to bring our little 5-year-old self along, right? And
Yeah.
develop that person in us. And sometimes it's also teaching us. Like when I look at my kids that are that age now, um, there are things I have lost that they help me to rediscover, right, as a child. So
Yeah. Children are the best because their mind is still pretty clear and
yeah,
they're very present and they don't worry about the future or the past. It's all about the now. And that's the greatest gift that we can ever learn as adults, really, is to be able to go back to our childhood selves and remember what that was like and bring that into our
yeah,
everyday experience.
yeah. So let's talk about stories, whether it's fictional or real.
Mhm.
Um, Stories and narratives, they shape us as people, and they drive who we are and how we understand the world. And we're all operating with these narratives, whether we know them or not. But I'm curious, what are some of the narratives or stories that have shaped you as a person?
Mm. I think in the very beginning stages of my business, some of the most powerful stories were listening to the mentors that I followed and ended up coaching with, and their success story, their rags to riches story, if you will. To me,
Mm,
that was probably one of the most impactful and empowering things because for two reasons. It showed me that I could do it too, that they were just ordinary people that did extraordinary things after going through their own journey of trial and error. And second of all, looking at their journey and seeing what they did and to see how I could emulate that in my own business. So to me, it was very powerful in that regard is looking at people's success and then breaking it down. Well, how did you bridge the gap? How did you get
yeah,
there? Strategically, mentally, all of that.
yeah, yeah. Stories inspire us, and I think that inspiration is fuel that we need. Particularly the earlier on we are in the process, maybe the less mature we are as well. We actually need more of that inspiration because um, we don't necessarily have we don't always have the ability to produce it ourselves. And if you've never been an entrepreneur, then you don't know what you don't know. And so to go down that road is scary, but to know that someone has gone down it, it's one thing to be the pioneer that's the first out, but
Yeah.
thankfully for entrepreneurs, there's so many entrepreneurs that have come before them that have paved many of the roads that make that journey a lot smoother. Doesn't mean it's
Mm-hmm.
always smooth, but um, there's 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 just something about that experience that's rewarding. And then as people go down that road, they can help the next set of people that are going down the road.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what about sharing your story? Do you find yourself doing that when you're coaching clients and in terms of giving them that fuel, the inspirational fuel?
I absolutely do. As a matter of fact, one story that comes to mind is I was meeting with a client yesterday and we were talking about his need to systemize the back end of his
Mm,
business. So basically, we were talking about once he has an initial conversation with someone, what is he going to do to foster and facilitate that relationship going down the road? And he had really never thought of that before. And so we were kind of talking about, how can we continue to stay in touch? Are there some systems that we can put in place to help remind you or reach out to them? Things like that. And I told him, I said, oh my gosh, if I could go back in time 5, 10 years ago and tell myself the things that I'm telling you now, these were the things that I wished I would have known. So
yeah.
I use my own experiences to try to empower my clients.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. And the other thing that comes to mind when you say that is I'm reminded of a podcast episode of a podcast called Growing as Grown-Ups, with Keith Eigel interviews Robert Keegan, and Robert Keegan helped develop what's known as constructive development theory, which is the stages of adult development that we go through. And anyway, he on this interview, he dove into 3 highly controversial issues.
Hmm.
And the way he did it was without it being controversial, was stories. He talked about 3 stories. And I thought, wow, that was really powerful, because by telling the story instead of like speaking like like a point of view,
Mhm.
he navigated around all of the landmines and the controversy, but still got the insights for the listener.
Yep.
I thought that was really fascinating. And I think that may be the case too with what I would consider as jaded or cynical entrepreneurs. They have a reason why they're right and why your method may be wrong, why they shouldn't change, right? But
Mhm.
stories have a way of sort of questioning those presuppositions they bring to those conclusions. I don't know. Have you experienced that? Have
Yeah.
you, when dealing with people that tend to be jaded, or jaded parts of yourself?
Yeah. So from a business marketing perspective, one of the big things that we promote at 540 Strategies is a theory called, or what I've coined, story selling. And
Mm,
that's essentially what we do with our marketing, is that we tell a story about our client's brand and the problem that their prospect is having. And the reason we do that is because stories draw us in without
mm,
pointing out. So it's kind of
mm,
like a third person perspective, where you can point out something to someone, kind of like in that instance where it was a heated topic, without saying or judging that you're in that category, right? So you can tell a story, put something in front of someone, and then allow them to step into the story and go, you know what, I resonate with that, or you know what, that sounds like me, or I have that problem too. And then once the mind is inside the story, then you've got the person captivated, and then you can give them the message that they need to hear. So yes, it's a brilliant strategy to either talk about something controversial, sell something, market something, or
yeah.
position something without really alerting. It kind of goes back to the mindset thing. If you trigger someone's ego, then that's when their defenses flare up and they're immediately put back. But when you put them in a story, they're pulled forward.
Yeah, that's neat. I like that. But let's shift to systems. What do you think
Sure.
about systems, and how do they work, and how do you use them?
Yeah. So I'm all about systems. So what we do at 540 Strategies is we work with clients on their marketing strategy and putting that in a system. We work with them on their selling strategy and we put that into a system. Because when you put things into a system, things are working on your behalf. And in the online world we live in, it can be working for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Christmas Day, New Year's Day, you're laying on the beach, you're getting more clients. So we're a big proponent of it at 540 Strategies. And I really can't think of a better way to run a business in today's world.
Yeah. So how does someone think in systems? How do they start to go down that road?
Yeah. So I think a lot in client patterns. So being a marketer and then thinking about the sales process, especially when we've got our marketing dialed in, our message dialed in, and our target market dialed in, many of these people have the same problems and they're going through the same trials and error in life through those problems. So when you start to see those patterns, that is always an opportunity to systemize. So
Mm,
that's one of the key things that we do, is we look at those patterns and then we figure out, okay, instead of answering the same question 10 times to 10 different people, can we come up with a script, or can we come up with a way that you would explain that answer to someone and just be able to repeat that 10 times?
mm. And so what are the types of benefits that people get by thinking in a systematic way, or developing these systems in these situations?
Uh, I think time management is one of the biggest. So if you want 10, 15, 20 hours back into your day, into your week, then you definitely want to think about putting in a system, right? Because what I was talking about earlier is getting back into that genius zone of your headspace as an entrepreneur. That's the number one way to do it, is to systemize all of those things, all of those answers, all of those processes that would be repeated over and over again in your business if you were doing them by hand. If you're doing something over and over again by hand, there's probably a system or an app for that in today's world.
Yeah. I think some people tend to think of systems magically in a negative way. When I say that, like they think they sort of point at people like, oh, it's their fault, or they're making this happen. They might look at like a CEO and think that the CEO is sort of controlling everyone and everything in this business. They fail to see that there are systems that shape the whole company, including the CEO, the people at the top, and that they're subject to the system, sometimes even more so than people that may be lower on the hierarchy. I'm curious what you would add to that or say to speak to that in terms of just how we can sort of miss that the systems are there, and by missing it, we think there are sort of these magical things happening that are more about dynamics than anything else.
Yeah. So I guess my answer to that would be, whether we like it or not, we live in a system every day.
Yeah.
Whether that's the morning routine you have from getting up and getting the cup of coffee and reading the newspaper, to brushing your teeth, showering, and getting ready for work, that right there is a system. If you work in any type of organization or corporation, you are in a system, right? There is an employee handbook. There are procedures and processes in place for everything you do under that umbrella. So I don't know if we can get away from systems, but I think the shift in mindset could be, if systems help me, then how can I leverage them to make my life and my business easier and happier?
Yeah, I think of it like a surfer, right? The wave. If the wave is the system, if you learn to ride the wave, then you actually can leverage it. But if you don't, it's gonna beat you up, right?
Exactly. And I guess the other thing I would add is, the more that you systemize your business and you get back into the things that you love, the more power and freedom that you really have over your life.
Mm.
So
So
if
it's
there's certain things that you're doing on the day-to-day that you don't like to do, find a system to help you to do it. And then you
yeah,
can get back to focusing on the things that do bring you the joy.
yeah, I like that. When does a system become tyrannical?
Hmm. When you let it.
Yeah,
I guess. I guess it goes back to there again, how you think about the system. And if you don't like the system, then find a new one, find a better way to do it, or a different way to do it
yeah,
that is more in alignment and feels good to you. Because, back to the law of attraction, everything must feel good in order for it to work well, or it is a hindrance to your ultimate desires and goals.
yeah,
So you can either shift the way that you think about it, or you can do something else. Those are the
yeah.
two choices.
What if you want to change a tyrannical system to be better, but it's a big system?
One step at a time, right? What is that saying of, you can't eat an elephant except for a bite at a time?
Yeah,
Be the change. Be the change that you want to see.
yeah,
Be that light. Start taking a couple of steps in that direction,
yeah,
and see what happens. And pretty soon you'll be surprised at how far you've come, and maybe how many supporters and followers you have walking behind you. So don't
yeah.
be afraid to be that trailblazer.
Mm. And that also implies that is part of that process, developing yourself to become the person that can do
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. So if you want to see change in the world, the first thing you got to do is change yourself. You got to become that person that you want the world to be. It's
Yeah,
an inside out thing.
yeah.
It absolutely is.
What else would you share with us? Anything you wanted to say that you didn't get a chance to yet?
Yeah, so I think we've gone really deep in this interview. A lot of stuff for viewers to think about. So we've probably given them at least a week's worth of things to ponder, right? But I guess my ultimate message for small business owners, and the lessons and trials and tribulations that I've had is I truly believe that a blend of having a strong, clear mindset that is free of those doubts and those worries and those fears, that's very focused on the desires and goals you have in your heart for your life and for your business, paired with the real world strategies. And that includes systems and getting things lined up message wise and getting really clear on your products and services for your ideal clients. When you put all of that together, you have got one heck of a formula to explode out of the gates and become a powerhouse in your business.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. How can people connect with you? Where are you online? Are you on social media? Give us the rundown and who's a good fit for working with you if they're interested.
Yeah. So absolutely. So I have a website, JaimeEllithorpe.com. I know that's really long, but you can find me out there. I'm active on LinkedIn, obviously running our LinkedIn agency. So please connect with me there. I've got a profile. You can look me up. I have Facebook. I have a business page, so you can find me there. I also have a Facebook group if you like more tips and inspiration on growing your business. And that's probably the easiest spell. It's clientattractorclub.com. Clientattractorclub.com. You can find us there, join the group, and find me in all the other areas. And really, we love to work with B2B businesses that are service-based and really just want to get their expertise out into the world. That's who we love to serve, and we can help you in a big way.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being here.